Yeah, that's quite a storm we had yesterday. Shut my camera down a little bit. But I'm going to use some Iron Mountain flux and flux this now. I'll go ahead and brush that off. And let it melt on there. And I'll get the other piece out. And I'm not going to go up to a full welding heat or normal welding heat on any of this. I don't have to. I don't want to over oxidize. I might have to leave my camera on because my solar charger is what I usually use out here. I didn't get it charged up. So. And yeah, I need to line them up just right. They're not perfect, you know, the best that they work as far as every little bit of that cube lining up. It's got a little overhang on one of the corners I saw, but I'll go ahead and deal with it. It's just going to be a stem on the end of a branch with a tenon, or a tendril, not a tenon. So, here we go. Yeah, the top one is a little bit cooler, but I want to line these up just right. And I'll drop my tong. And I want to hit it. It stuck it. I want to hit it a little bit more. It just got a little piece of the tripod. But now I'll put it back in and I'll bring it up to a little higher heat, normal, just yellow. Yeah, I mean, you can go to forge welding temperatures, of course. But if you do, the pieces by this are going to oxidize, which they're built up, or they got the lead-in tapers that could take that. But when you're welding and you want to make a solid weld, you need to heat it up a few times. And if you were to add more and more to the same area, you'd definitely be over-oxidizing your pieces that are right next to it. So I'm not going to go up to those real bright colors. You could weld in your vise, especially a piece like this. It's pretty good size. Just make sure it stays square on all sides. I do want to hit mainly on the side right now that I just oriented them in where it's going to push it into it. So I could get my V dies out, equal out, but I'm not going to. Just going to do it like a normal, what people think it's, are used to seeing, I guess. Except not as high a temperature. And I'm just, you know, it's smaller than my hammer, a little spot. I called this a blob weld for the longest time. I used to do this before I got around blacksmiths as a way of joining pieces, like for an octopus was my first piece, where I didn't want the pieces next to it. Okay, so it's welded well. This is good also. Like I say, it's not perfect. There's a little shoulder. Well, you don't see it so much now, but right there it was. But I'll start hammering the other way also. I don't need to add any more flux or anything like that. You can if you want to feel good, but you don't need to. If you wanted to weld these pieces right here together at the base, you might want to put some, but I'm not going to be concerned with those. But there we go. And then I'll turn that into a one branch, or a branch, and then a stem like a Y. So I'm going to turn that off now. Alright, so long as this is smaller than my hammer, I can hammer on the flat surface of my handle. As it starts to get larger, I'm going to do something else. I'll go to the edges. But I do want to make sure this is all smashed together. It's kind of like a piece of clay. And, you know, those little blobs, those little cubes of 3/4 inch square stuff that I had to start with weren't perfect cubes, of course, but I hammered right by the stem. But watch how the metal responds. I'm going to hit this way. Wanted to keep it square. Alright, now it's getting pretty long, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit here, start with. It's a rectangle. Now I'm a diagonal or a rhombus. Now this, it'll test your weld out right there. So I hit a high diagonal because it was rhombus, and I'm going to hit here and here. I would usually do that a lot faster and do a lot more, but I'm just showing this. And yeah, I was hitting the high diagonal. I didn't totally fix it yet, but if I would have shown it to you, you would have seen it was a rhombus like this, high diagonal here. And I could see it from the top because it was tilting. But and yeah, that'd be good to put in equal LVs so it contains and hits 3 equal pressures. But like I said, I'm not going to do it on this one. Now, before it gets where these two pieces, the humps, I need to take that down. I don't want to go where it makes it smaller than the two pieces together. You'll see that as it develops. Here we go again. And I do want the Y to weld good. I'm going to go ahead and hit it on the flat surface since I did the diagonal to start with. I hit right up by the Y. Now I'm going to hit over here, half on, half off. And I'll go back and forth because I want a square. Go ahead and hit here, and as it becomes a square, which is right now it's a rectangle slightly in the other plane, so I'll go ahead and heat it up again, but I'm just showing you. And you see this is still higher on both sides where the shoulder is. But now I need to make the square in the other plane. And, you know, it's getting smashed how it should. So it makes it one piece. So we'll continue. Okay, I am going to hit this on the flat to start with because it's a big shoulder. And I've got a square. I'm going to go ahead and hit here. I'm going to put the shoulder up. The shoulder. Oh, I hit right on the end. I'm trying to hit half on, half off over here. It's cool. I'm just showing you the blow. A lot of people would be nervous about hitting this when it's not, or when they're welding. but it's welded. The more material you have to smash together when you're welding, the better. Now I can't hit too much on this side. I still have the shoulders. I haven't hit my stems, but you don't want to hit too much in that plane. I'll be doing a different transition here soon. What I could do also, this is set up, like I add pieces to these type of things. Usually I make a branch, leave a blob on the end, make another branch further down on the next stem that comes. But this one, since I did the two-side tapers instead of the taper to the center, has that one shoulder on one side now, and then slight shoulders on the other side. So I could add a piece of this 3/4 square, or I could take it down to 5/8 square and add a piece of that. Or you can add round to that too. It's just square is probably easier for people to lay on an anvil if they don't have the V-dies. And so I'm just going to square this up a little bit neater, and instead of doing what I was going to do, I'll brush so you see it. Ow. No. So yeah, it's getting to be about 5/8, not 3/4. Slight rhombus. Slight, very slight. On the brush. And I'm just going to screw that up. And let you see it. There's still a slight shoulder here. There's not much of a shoulder on the other side, but it's the transition from the stem into what we have here. But yes, I could add another piece and see the shoulder here and do another whatever leaf or flower or anything, tendril, and have the shoulder up over here, you know. But there's lots of things I can do. Yeah, for the interest of time though, you know, I'm not going to go and add any more. Video has already gotten to be a little long. I'm taking my time doing other things, so I'll just take and hit that bump down here. And it's longer here. A little rectangular, so I can square it up. Take it to here, it's a square. Smaller square. Now here's where you want to watch. You know, you don't want to go too far in here. You want to go too far. I'm going to get on the anvil here and go in here, and then I'll have to do a little more tricky stuff over here. I will get that hot to do that though. But yeah, it's welded. You know, you got to watch crotches. But you see, this isn't the same as what they call the faggot weld that they do, where it bounces back from the other one. This is a free piece. This is not bounced back at all because it hasn't really met yet. It's joined at the tapers of where it's the transition from the original stock. Okay, I'll go to the horn. I'd like to have got my other deal out, the die anvil. I'm really watching it here. I'm going to go to the diagonal. And what I'm doing is I want to reduce this. Don't go too far, but you can go beyond this now. Make it I hope you can see that a thicker stem. Now, because I had this high shoulder over here, these parts right there, that's not too bad actually. Just don't go further up in there where they're not joined, and I'll be fine. But I'm going to round this up into a smaller stem. I'll go a little bit smaller right in here and right in here, and then I'll into here and then continue on with that. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to hit right in here. I'll lengthen it just a little bit. Now I'll go back to the diagonal. Watch that one. Get rid of those humps a little bit. Right here. Yeah, this is where I really like my the diamond was the true fuller instead of a cone fuller, and I can actually use it a lot better to my advantage. But yeah. Take it this side this time. Okay, now diagonal. And 16 sides. Square off, going around. And I do leave them dingy, you know, it's a branch. I don't try and, you know. Make it smooth at all. Look for anything up here I might want to bang up. And to finish this area, you know, I'm not going to be coming back to it, except the bend. So that's just texture, you know, hammer finishing. Just wherever there's support, and you know, you can feel, you can hear. I do like true fullers instead of cone fullers like a horn. Okay, now I'll finish up the this end. Okay, and yeah, I'll go ahead and get on the horn. Reduce it just a little bit here. And then diagonals. I'll go ahead and hex roll, or you know, once you get to, that's what I call it, hex roll. I would almost octagon, and then you know that's close enough to round, and then I'll just roll and hit like 6 or what do you call it, 12 sides. Here, I'm not going to worry about making it true round either. I want to leave a little bit of kind of what like what I started with, but it shows the transition. There are two separate pieces, definitely. I could take that out too, but you know, this is where it wasn't truly meeting here on that one side when I talked about it earlier. And yeah, it doesn't have the support to weld at that little spot. That's why there's that small crack. Now I could, you know, change all this and make it so, but I'm going to leave it so people can see there's a cut to center. This is for blacksmiths, I guess, or people that want to know or learn and stuff. And I'm going to leave it like that. And I'll do some shaping here. I'm going to leave that like that. I will get this bent to work here. Just bend it out of my way. And we'll see. So to bend this, I should put it in my vise or something, or to support it. I'm just going to put it in a hardy hole here and see if this will, if you can see it. I don't know. So I'll just get it away from here. I don't want to put any pressure on this where I'm holding here with my hand, not my tongue. So I'll if I didn't have that in my hole, it would definitely you know, bend at this spot right here, you know, by taking and putting that much pressure on that, you know. And knock the scale off. And I don't want it bent. I want to keep it straight right there. Like, you know, it's not perfectly straight, but I don't need it perfectly straight. I'm going to hammer right here and right there. Right here. But yeah, I'll be able to forge this stuff. I can hold on the other end. I can do this. This is a little weighty, but I can still, you know, come in here. But you'll find that when things are heavy, when I do this at 1/2 inch, it's not a problem. This is 3/4. There's a lot more volume out there, a lot with the same length that I use basically for a candle holder like what I'm going to make. But I'll go ahead and continue this way, and we'll see what happens. I don't want to time out on this thing. I don't have it hooked up to another power source, but I've got to heat up this 1/4 inch a little bit. I want some reserve heat in there. I mean, a 3/4 inch. And so it's taking me a little bit. The other piece is hot. It's putting a little bit of warmth, some pretty good warmth in the 3/4. So here we go. So this, I do need to spin a little bit of my way. Here I'm going to start to forge. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take the diagonal while it's still got some color in it, right in there. And I'm going to go ahead and finish right here. So I'm avoiding that stem flower leaf. I could have got it out of my way a little bit more. There we go. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to say that's finished all the way up to right there. It's still got the ox on here, but I'll be able to reach that pretty easy. But there's a lot of more work here. So I need to think about going to a smaller dimension. This is proud of 1/4 of its dimension. 3/8 would be 1/4 of 3/4 inch dimension. So I'm going to go beyond that. And I left this to do all that. If you didn't, that would have definitely been kinked. And you cut it off, do the other side. I could have got that harder, but I'm going to go ahead and take it. So I'm going to take it under 1/4 dimension right here. Not too small yet. Then I want to reduce it. If you don't do that, it'll be hard to get this down, you know. So, you know. And I'll go ahead and save that for some heat. You know, I'm going slow talking, whatever. They say I'm not supposed to be talking doing this. But you guys let me know if I should talk or not. I know I do it on my members, so they'll learn and see what I'm doing, so they can do it themselves. So yeah, I'm going to take that down, then lower it again. This get quite longer, you know, and we'll measure it again here in a second. All right. Shoulder up there. And yeah, try not to hit your near side shoulder here. So I'll put that a little bit on, then we'll get the high spot first, then lower this again. I'm going to go ahead and do this just so you can see how it works. Slowing down. And I'll take a measurement this time. And I'm not going to, just don't hit your shoulder here. Boom. Then you get back here. Boom. I'll leave that just like it is. But you see it's getting longer and longer. Let's take a measurement. We had 20 inches to start with. There's our 16 that we use. The 4 inches is now over a foot, and it's going to be quite a bit longer too. I'm gonna hit. Okay. So I'll go ahead and get that little bit there. And like I say, this could be a lot longer. But the diagonals here, and I can see diagonals when it's not as bright, So I usually don't take diagonals when it's real bright. And I don't need to take all of that, because that's all going to come out more. This is like a rod, barry area, whatever you want to call it. And let's roll. Take little bitty lumps as they come around. A little bit of a dimension, not much really at all. And I'm just going to go there. If you want to straighten or anything, or you just lightly feel your animal. And yeah, I think I'll end up. Well, I'll go ahead and do that. It's just, I don't want to make too long of a video. So yeah, here's where I take it down another notch. Smaller than what we have on that other side. And I don't want to hit my shoulder, so get that on my animal, come back. Go back. There's where it stopped. Coming back. I'm going to do the diagonal. You see it bent a little bit where I wasn't hammering. And that's just because it had heat and it was the same dimension as this, but it didn't kink or do anything to damage anything. I'm just finishing up this little area, and I did hit where it was bent just to straighten it up. This makes things rigid again. So I'm going to go ahead and continue because this is pretty important. When I do rings and things, that's when I'm going down to the very smallest here, and I have all this on the end, what's occurring, why it occurs, and all that, and understanding, paying attention to that will teach you a lot about forging these things. And I actually don't have to use tongs to do things, but I usually don't have that much weight on the end either. Okay. I cooled it off too much. I use my water mop to do a little heat control, but I'll just do this right here. I can keep it hot just by, hammering. And I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, this is far enough for me to go, even though I could have done longer. So here I go. I had a cold chip right there, didn't I? Maybe not. Anyway, I'm going to go back on the angle. This transition right here, where it was cold from my water rack, I'm going to just blend it, come back down. Yeah, I had a little cold chip from the edge that I grabbed here. So, diagonal. And yeah, that's a cold diagonal. So, I should have used my water mop to cool this where it didn't have the long heat. Because I would have definitely, I'm not going to hammer this hard, been able to, finish that area also in there. But, and I'm not going to do a rolled scroll on this because it's not going to be that type of a thing. It's going to be a tendril or candle holder, like a accordion candle or something like that. Let me get the tape measure. And we've got over 12 inches we're shooting for, I think, on our tendril here. Now, it's at a 11 here, but we've got 30 inches now, overall length, from our 20 inches. This at 16 minus whatever, the 16 inches to here, whatever that length that was, that would have been over 3 foot long for sure. But we're just moving some metal around. I'll do the rest. I'm not gonna. I'll film it, but I don't know if I'll put it on this because it just makes it too long of a video.